Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar today in Unlocking the Secrets to Exceptional Classic Lash Retention. So I know firsthand that struggling with retention is the #1 challenge that most lash artists face. So whether you're a beginner, newbie, or you're an experienced artist, I'm sure you've had encountered some retention issues. So a lot of factors play a role into your retention. So hopefully, even if you're an experienced lash artist, hopefully you can take a little bit away from today's webinar. Now, as Paige mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to just type it in the chat box, and then we can go over the questions at the end of the webinar. So today we're going to dive into the core reasons that are behind poor retentions and learn how to properly solve them. So my goal today is to help eliminate client complaints, boost your confidence, as well as create a beautiful set of lashes that's going to last as long as possible. So these are some insights from my own personal experience from being in the lash industry for over 13 years. I've experienced these problems myself, and to be honest, I still sometimes experience some retention issues. So hopefully we can all take a little bit something away from today's webinar. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the agenda today, I'm going to share a little brief background about myself. We're going to dive into the 5 pillars of what I think causes retention issues. We will go over kind of applications and techniques that I personally use myself that I find is really beneficial for increasing your retention, products that I love and then that I think are tried and true. And then at the end, we will go over our questions and answers. So a little bit about my background, just to sum it up, my background is actually in Bachelor's of Education. So I actually got my degree back in 2010. It wasn't until after that that I had my firstborn where I wanted to be a little bit more involved in the beauty industry. So I was trying to find ways to be at home a little bit more with my firstborn at the time, be able to have a flexible schedule, make my own scheduling, and just overall spend more time with my family. I guess that's ideally kind of probably the main reason why a lot of us go into the beauty industry is just the flexibility that it gives. So back in 2012 is when I first stepped foot into the lash world. In 2012, actually, it's funny because there wasn't actually a lash course at the time that we could take to learn how to do lashes. When I first got into lashes, it was very foreign. I knew nothing about eyelash extensions. It was very new in the beauty industry. I just seen a job posting online that was advertised for a lash artist, and I was very curious about it. I was already in the beauty industry, specializing in nails. My background is in aesthetics. I specialize mainly in nails. And then that's when I kind of got into eyelash extensions in 2012. So I actually apprenticed through the salon that I had worked at for a period of time. I want to say I probably apprenticed for probably at least a good 3 to 6 months. During this time of apprenticing through the owner, I absolutely hated eyelash extensions. So I struggled a lot with it. I was constantly having clients come back complaining that, they weren't lasting. I couldn't figure out the reason why. Why weren't they lasting? They would look great at the end of the appointments, but then 3 days later, I would have clients come back and complain that, they just didn't last. And then they all fell off. So during this time, I was really discouraged, hated lashing for this reason. Inevitably, we just hate to do what we aren't naturally good at, right? So for those of you who are just stepping into eyelashes, I'm sure you have encountered these problems of your lashes not lasting. So it wasn't until maybe after 6 months where I was like, you know what? This is not for me. I'm just not good. People were constantly complaining. I felt really down on myself. I actually tried to quit and tried to leave the industry. But at that time, my boss in the company that I was working for, she was so accommodating. She was like, what is it that you need? Do you need better hours? Do you need this and that? She was willing to bend over backwards just to keep me within the company. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to suck it up, work here a little bit longer, make that extra paycheck. And naturally, just with lashing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you have no other option but to naturally get better just with consistent practice, right? So naturally, I just finally became better. People were starting to compliment my work. They were starting to request for me again. And I felt a lot more confident and better about my work. So I started to enjoy it a little bit more. So I always say if it wasn't for that experience with my boss at the time, that I wouldn't be here today, because I probably would have just given up and just, went into something completely different. So looking back, I'm very thankful that, she pushed me to stay and do lashes, because that's the only way that we're going to excel and get better. So with that being said, I stuck around doing lashes for a while, worked with the same company for a few years. 3 years later, I transitioned into Lash education. So this is when the company that I worked for first launched one of the first Lash education courses in the city that I was living in at the time. So we're one of the first to even teach lashes. So this is kind of when courses were being more widely offered. And since then, I haven't looked back. I've just been focused on lash education. A few years ago, I've had an opportunity to work for a school where I focused on curriculum development. And then that's where it took me to Sugar Lash Pro. So I joined Sugar Lash Pro in 2023. So it's been a little over 2 years now. My role is the Global Director of Education. My main focus is to train all of our partners and their educators and get everyone set up and feeling confident to teach these programs to their students. All right, so lash retention is one of the #1 issues artists struggle with throughout their career. Yes, even sometimes the experienced artists. So it's funny because a lot of factors play into how well your retention is going to last. You could be doing everything perfectly, but something so simple as maybe even the environment that day, the temperature that day, can affect your retention. So I've been in the lash game for over 13 years, training artists all over North America. So I'm super excited to share with you kind of my own personal experience and mistakes that I've made, but also the common mistakes that I see with training schools and other students as well. So hopefully you can take a little something away from today's webinar. We're going to make sure that retention challenges are also a thing of the past. Now, the 5 pillars of lash retention, in my opinion, lash retention isn't magic. So it's built on 5 key categories that I think typically causes lash retention. So anyone whose lashes doesn't last, it's always due to one of an issues in one of these areas. So by mastering each one of this, you can ensure your clients leave with beautiful, long-lasting lashes every single time. So 5 pillars. #1, pre-appointment. This is issues that you might experience even from before your client walks through the door. So we want to make sure that prior to the actual appointments, they're doing everything they need in order to have, a long-lasting set of lashes. #2, pre-application. So all the steps that you're going to take right before the actual application. #3, the actual application and technique. #4, post-application. So the steps that you're going to take after the actual application. And #5 is aftercare. Now, pre-appointments, the first pillar. You want to make sure that your clients are coming in with healthy lashes to start off with. Healthy lashes are a must for a successful and long-lasting set of lashes. So as you can see here in the photo on the upper right-hand side, this client's, this photo is not our work. So it's just a photo that I had found, but you can see that she's suffering some lash damage already. Now you can see here, on her inner corner, she's experiencing some bald areas. So there's a little bit of lash loss there, but also you can see the inconsistent phases of lash growth. So she has a few that appears to be, okay, still actively growing, but she has a lot of also really fine, really baby, weak and brittle lashes. Now, this application, you can actually tell already that it's a very poor application based on the work you can see on this other side here. So the extensions, this is a volume set, but you can see quite a bit of glue already they're kind of clumped together. They're not properly isolated, kind of sticky. So this could be what is causing the lash damage, right? But you want to make sure that before your clients actually get the service done, you want to assess the client's natural lash health. These little itty bitty fragile lashes, if we're going to apply any set of extensions on for them, they are almost immediately probably going to fall off, and if not, cause further damage to their natural lash health. Secondly, clients pre-appointment prep. So we want to make sure that before they actually come in for their appointments, that they're educated to arrive with clean, makeup-free lashes, right? So this includes mascara, any current eyeliner, creams around the eye area. Not only are they going to come in with nice and fresh bare face, but once we actually do the cleansing step, it's just an extra cleanse on their natural lashes to ensure that the surface is going to be free of all residue, oil buildup, anything that might be left over on their lashes. So this will make sure that the extensions are going to bond a lot more successfully. And lastly, have your client shower before the appointment. So it's a good idea to have your client shower just because we recommend not getting the lashes wet for 24 hours. Technically, they can get it wet now within the 24 hours, but I still recommend that, post-service, keep them dry as long as possible, right? It's just like getting my hair done. After I get my hair done, I always prefer, like, if I can keep them dry for as long as I can, I'm going to just to maximize the bond. And you can see here at the bottom, obviously this client came in with dirty lashes. You can see there's a lot of mascara built up. Now, mascara actually is like the most finicky thing to remove. We know personally that, have you tried removing your own mascara? You really have to dig in there probably 2-3 times until everything is nice and clean, if it's even fully cleansed. Number 2, the second pillar, pre-application. So proper preparation is the foundation of a long-lasting set of lash extensions. So skipping these steps can lead to poor retention and, of course, unhappy clients if their lashes are falling off a lot quicker, right? So here's a breakdown of why each step is so important. So number 1, obviously, we want to cleanse thoroughly with the lashes, right? Even if they're coming in with bare face, they had already washed their face beforehand, we are still going to cleanse their natural lashes. We don't know if there's any, oil residue or lotions that they use around the eyes. So for this reason, I always will cleanse before the appointment. Now, I have even heard of some salons, lash artists choosing to charge additional costs for cleansing lashes. They call it a lash bath, and it's usually like a additional fee. I don't believe in this. I feel like right before the appointments, we are always going to mandatory clean the lashes. So we don't charge extra for it. It just comes with the appointment. Second, prime as needed. So even if a client arrives without makeup, of course, thorough cleanse is essential. Natural oils, dirt, microscopic debris accumulates on the lashes and can create a barrier, right? With the adhesive and the natural lash. And of course, this will prevent the glue from having a strong bond. Now, priming the lashes is also important because this helps remove any remaining residue and balances the pH of the natural lash, creating the perfect surface for adhesive to stick to. So very similar to, getting our nails done, getting our makeup done, right? There's a reason why we prime underneath makeup before the foundation goes on. We prime before we get our nails done, right? It's to kind of dry out everything and make sure that whatever's to bond is going to hold a lot better. Next is control your environment. So humidity. Humidity is a common factor in what causes retention issues secretly without you even knowing that this could be an issue. So oftentimes I find a lot of lash artists struggle with retention and they're like, you know what, I'm doing everything right. I'm using high quality products. My application looks great. Lashes look great upon leaving, but I don't know what it is, but they just don't last. They only, by 2 weeks, they're just almost bare. It could be something with your room environment. This is honestly the common culprit. And sometimes certain lash education, lash courses that you take don't teach you how to properly use the adhesive and play around with your environment. So we'll talk about this a little bit more on how you can help adjust your environment to match with the adhesive that you're using in order to maximize your lash retention. Using high quality adhesive and applying it correctly. So not all adhesives are created equal. So you want to make sure that you're using high-end quality products, right? So just like hair, nails, everything, the type of product you use is going to make or break your application. There's a reason why you go on Amazon and you find an adhesive that's $10 versus another adhesive you might find online that might run for $60, $70, right? So why is there that difference there, right? High quality products, of course, is going to ensure that your application is going to be easy and as seamlessly successful as possible. And using the right amount of adhesive. So this is actually what I struggled with when I first started lashing. I was unaware that I wasn't using enough adhesive. So I would dip my lash extension into the glue and I would almost wipe off too much of the excess. And I didn't realize it. I was so worried that, I didn't want the lash set to have too much glue on it that I was accidentally wiping off too much. So you almost want not too much, not too little, just finding that happy medium. So by following all of these pre-application steps, you will create a beautiful set of lashes that hopefully your clients will keep coming back for. Now, here is a video that I'm going to play with you. So all of these steps that I have mentioned over to you, we have a video clip to kind of coincide with each one of these steps. So ensuring that you're cleansing your client's lashes thoroughly. So I actually will cleanse the lid as well. So making sure she comes in barefaced, cleaning her lashes and cleaning the eyelids as well. So give it a good lather, and then I typically will give it a good rinse afterwards with water and make sure that all of that cleanser is removed. Okay, so priming lashes. So with the primer, I typically apply the primer on 2 flocked applicators and I sandwich the natural lashes in between and kind of wipe up and down. Now, primer, you don't typically want this to come in contact with the skin as our eyelid is a very sensitive area, but I do try to focus on getting as many of those natural lashes primed as possible. Now, a little goes a long way. So don't drench your applicator sticks with too much primer, because what can happen is if it's too wet, the minute it touches the lashes, it just pools liquid onto the lashes and can accidentally get into the eye, which we don't want. Humidity control. So humidity control is critically important for the successful application and long-term retention of a beautiful set of eyelash extensions. So some manufacturers may have different humidity requirements. So always remember to check what the requirement is. So every glue is completely different. Some glues may require you to have, let's say 30 to 40% humidity. Some might be a little bit higher, right? So not every glue is equal. So make sure that whatever glue you are using, that you are properly following the instructions and the humidity requirements. Now, what happens is, let's say if you don't consider humidity, you're like, whatever, you know what, my room is typically cool. It should work with any type of adhesive. If the humidity is too low and it doesn't match your adhesive, you will experience a slower drying time. So meaning it's not going to instantly bond right away, right? So you might have issues with the eyelash extension sticking to the natural lash. This is going to create weak bonds. And if it does, it might take a really long time to get it there. This could also increase irritations around the eyes from the fumes because it's not curing properly and it's not curing quick enough, right? Now, if the humidity is too high, you can also experience a shock polymerization. So this is when it cures way too quick. This is like by the time you apply it onto the natural lash, it's not even sticking anymore because it's just fully cured already. This is going to create poor adhesion, of course, and possibly clumpy bonds just because it cures too quick before you get a chance to smooth out your application. Now, if it cures too quick, you have to also take into consideration your dipping. Like if you are dipping the extension and then, you're spending some time isolating and trying to find a lash, that is also going to take some additional time, right? So what I like to do is I actually like to pick up my extension first, hold it in my hand, then isolate. So I don't even dip it in glue yet until I have my lash isolated. So that helps me because once I dip, I have my isolated lash ready, and then I go in to apply and it instantly just bonds a lot quicker just because it doesn't take us longer time in between from going back and forth, if that makes sense. Now, you want to use high quality products. When I mentioned earlier, product is going to make or break your application, right? So very similar to, hair, nails. I always reference it back to hair and nails. But if you're using really crappy, low quality product, and let's say like it's just not working for you, right? Because it's low grade product, this is going to cause irritations. Maybe the bond, the retention is going to be very low, more finicky to work with, which in turn will cause application issues. Now, this is our adhesive that we carry with Sugar Lash Pro. So we actually have 3 different types of adhesive depending on your experience, what you're looking for, and your speed level. So our most popular type of adhesive is our signature bond. So be careful. All of these adhesives look exactly the same from the outside, but obviously you can see it has a different label on the front. So our signature bond, we call it our signature adhesive because it's our most popular adhesive. The reason why it's the most popular is it offers a broad humidity range from 20 to 75%. Now, if you guys are trained lash artists on this webinar today, you know that that's a broad range to work with for humidity requirements. So what that means is if you tend to live in a more drier climate or more humid climates, it's going to typically work for most environments. And this is also great for artists of all skill levels. So this adhesive has a 1 to 2 second drying time, which is fairly quick. It's almost like enough time for a beginner lash artist, but also enough time for somebody that's been doing lashes for years. Now, this is black. It has a medium consistency, and there's a reason why it's our most popular because it's just a really easier product to work with. Now, we carry this product also in clear. So if you don't like black or you prefer to use clear, or let's say you're using colored lashes, the clear adhesive would be great. Has the exact same features, so same dry time, same humidity requirements. The only difference is it's clear. So because it's clear, it means that it's eliminating one additional ingredient, which is the carbon black. So that's what makes the adhesive its black color. So this is great for clients with a little bit more sensitivities to carbon black. Maybe you might opt for this glue instead because it doesn't have that ingredient, right? So same exact features as the signature bond, just one is black, one is clear. And lastly, we have our Bond Noir. So Bond Noir is more engineered for experienced lash artists. So if you're super fast at your application and you're looking for something fast drying, this is going to be the adhesive you are going to love. It's actually half a second drying time. Now, with that being said, it is catered to more experienced artists. So if you aren't quick and don't know how to work with something so fast drying, this might cause you some challenges. Also, the humidity requirement for this specific type of glue, it has to be between 44 and 55%. Now, the window for the humidity requirement is a lot smaller now. You only have that 10% window to work with. So it can be a little bit more finicky. If you are living in a place that, it's typically more drier or more humid, I wouldn't recommend this adhesive for you because you're going to have to play around with a room temperature quite a bit, which can cause retention issues. If you guys haven't tried our signature bond, give it a try. But this adhesive here, a lot of people love. Depending on the type of adhesive you are using, you do have to shake your adhesive before application. This is where I will admit, sometimes I'm lazy and I don't shake it for the full amount of time because it's honestly an arm workout. But depending on the adhesive you're using, it is required that you have to shake the adhesive anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. Now, if you're using a Sugar Lash Pro adhesive, we do require you to shake it for 3 minutes. Sometimes if you are working with a different brand of adhesives, it could be a little bit less than that, but we require you to shake it for 3 minutes. This is really going to ensure that the adhesive, it's mixed thoroughly and the ingredients aren't separated while sitting, because that's what happens. You know, sometimes if you're working on the first client for the day, your adhesive had been sitting overnight in your cart or, you know, on your counter. So what happens is when it's sitting there for a long period of time, the ingredients actually separate, right? So when it is not properly mixed thoroughly, you may experience obviously the adhesive having reduced strength. So it's not going to bond properly, right? Because it's not mixed thoroughly. This can also be inconsistent curing as well. Also color and texture issues. So with every adhesive that you use, when you do your drop of adhesive, you always want it to be that pure black color. If it's ever coming out as like opaque, kind of grayish, kind of hazelish, you need to shake it a little bit more. Very similar to, I guess, like nail polish. I'm always referring it back to nails. But yeah, make sure if you are using our adhesive, shake it for that 3 minutes. And this is where I say I've personally been lazy. Sometimes I'll shake it for, you know, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then I pour a drop of glue. You're going to notice very, very quickly the glue, it looks like it starts to separate a little bit on your little jade stone. So it's not that pure black color, which you want it to be pure black. Now, all of this, of course, causes retention issues. Now, this was my #1 challenge personally for myself, is not using enough adhesive. So make sure that when you are dipping your extension into the adhesive, you're dipping it into the center of your little drop of glue. This is going to ensure that your adhesive is the most fresh in the center, but also it's going to ensure that you have enough adhesive, right? Typically, you see the edges kind of crystallize a little bit, so it might be harder to dip your extensions in there. When you pull out your extension, you want to see about 2 to 3 small beads. Now, if you take a look in this photo here, you can see those little beads. You want to see those. That's how you know that you have enough adhesive. Now, how do you know if you have too much of adhesive? How I like to gauge it is they're like big balls of glue kind of on the lashes. Typically, you will know if you have too much. Too much is when you have like maybe like a huge glob of glue, and you know that as soon as it comes in contact with the hair, it's going to pool the glue kind of all over the place. It's going to be a lot more wet looking. It's going to be a lot more stickier. This is what happens, and glue gets on your tweezers. It's just a little bit more messy. So play around with adhesive a little bit. You can typically tell when you have too much adhesive. If anything, a common issue I had, and what most people have that I've noticed in training, is not using enough adhesive. So what happens is sometimes lash artists just, you know, dip their lashes in real quick, pull it out. You don't even see any little beads, but they're like, meh, like I already dipped it in. It should have enough adhesive. What happens is when you place it on the natural lash, it sticks. It does stick right away. However, give it like 15, 20 minutes later, it's going to pop off, or maybe even a couple of days later. It just didn't have that strong bond to begin with, that it actually will pop off on you a lot quicker. So what I say is I want to see 2 to 3 small beads, and I'll show you why, because I'm going to show you my my personal application. So jumping into the third pillar, so application and technique. So application and techniques are the absolute cornerstone of excellent lash retention, right? So while factors like client aftercare and adhesive quality are equally as important, you want to make sure that your skill as an artist in applying the extensions are also correct, because this will determine how long a set will last, right? A lash set will last. So you want to make sure that you maximize your retention with these following application techniques. So I've broken it down into kind of 5 steps. Number 1 is you want to assess the natural lash. So assessing the natural lash, meaning what are their natural lashes like, their lash health, right? Are there a lot of baby lashes? Are there a lot of adult lashes? You want to make sure that you're using the correct length, but also the correct thickness, right? So if you're putting something super heavy on a client's lashes and their lashes are naturally really weak, really small, really brittle, of course, there's not a lot of support there for your client's extension. So what happens is it's going to weigh it down, potentially falling off and causing damage. So you want to make sure you're using the correct lengths, thicknesses, curls, even curls. The curls that you choose is also going to play a factor in how well your set is going to last, right? So one thing I do notice is with a D curl, now if you're using a D curl instead of a C curl, keep in mind a D curl is more curly, right? It's more lifted. So what happens is if your client's lashes are super, super straight, what happens is when you apply a D curl on this really, really straight lash, you're going to notice and experience that little split end at the tip, because not all of the natural lash is going to be able to be attached to this D curl, because the D curl is almost like too curly, right? So sometimes using a D curl can affect retention. Like sometimes it might not last as well as a C curl, for example, right? There are more straighter curls on the market too, like B curls and J curls, things like that. Not as popular, however, because those extensions, those curls are more straighter, typically they have more adhesion to the natural lash. So want to make sure that you're using the correct extensions, size, thickness, curls onto the correct phase of the natural lash health. Next, you want to properly isolate, right? So isolation is part of application. You want to make sure that you are isolating that one lash properly, so you're getting one extension on that one natural lash. Secondly, the art of application. So this is the actual application itself. This is getting that extension to adhere to the natural lash and getting it to stay there. So my technique is the paint, place, and scoop. So I'll show you that in a video clip shortly, but that's my personal technique. I find this really helps for retention because I'm painting a little bit of that glue onto that natural lash before I place the extension on. So I find that this really helps me with my retention. You want to make sure that you maximize the bond attachment. So this is where I say the type of curl that you use does matter, because you want as much of that natural lash attached to as much of that extension as possible. Now, I have seen lash artists, in class while training, but also lash artists that are, have been doing it for years. Some lash artists, their technique is to dip just the very bottom of the extension and then they stick it onto the natural lash. So they only have that adhesion just on the very base. So I recommend dipping your extension almost all the way into the glue, so you maximize that bond attachment. You want almost as much of that natural lash attached to that extension as possible. So not just the very bottom, but the whole entire thing. Wraparound method. So the wraparound method is, I typically like to use this on curly lashes. You can use this method for even straight lashes if you'd like. For me, I find it's easier to use on a curly lash. I will also show this in a little photo illustration for you in the next few slides. And lastly, the brush through. So I personally actually brush through my lashes every 20 to 30 minutes. So in like a 2-hour application, Every 20 minutes, I actually take my little spoolie wand and I just give my lashes a brush. So they have set and dried already, but I want to make sure that they're fully attached, because what happens is if you don't brush throughout your application and you just wait until the very end, what happens is, let's just say at the very end, you brush out the lashes and 30 extensions fall off. And by then you're like, oh crap, I'm finished my appointment. I didn't get enough time to address that issue, right? So for me, I like to check every 20 minutes. So sometimes you might have, 2 or 3 lashes pop off, which is completely normal, but I want to double check why. Why did it pop off, right? Maybe I didn't use enough glue. Maybe it didn't fully attach as I thought it would. If there are issues during the application that's causing retention issues, it's easier to correct and address right there while you're brushing rather than waiting to the very end. Now, I have 2 video clips here for you. So first clip here I'm going to play is just assessing the natural lash. So it's just doing a little comb through of my client's natural lash. You can see here, some are little baby lashes, some are thicker, some are longer. This is going to help me determine what length and thickness to use on her natural lashes. Now, I like to customize different lengths and different thicknesses throughout an entire set. So I'm not just using one type of thickness or one length kind of throughout. I'm customizing. So those little baby lashes, you can use shorter lashes, even though you kind of have it mapped out to a certain length. If you think that those baby lashes can't support a longer extension, put a shorter extension in there, right? It's going to hold a lot better for you. Next is just a clip of isolation. So you can see here, I have my lash kind of held in my other hand, and with my left hand, I have my lash isolated. So I go in, I kind of just dig through from bottom to top and get one lash by itself. Just one more quick clip here, because I know this video clip is just a few seconds long. Okay, so this is the actual application itself. So how I like to do it is I actually paint the natural lash. So do you see that? I'm just going to, I'll replay this clip afterwards for you, but I paint the natural lash. I kind of hold it securely in place, and then I scoop underneath to ensure that that bond really attached. So I'm going to replay this for you guys right after. Okay, so here's a replay. I have my lash isolated. See that? I have a few beads of adhesive on my extension. I'm painting the natural lash. Then do you see how I hold it securely in place for, a second or two? Then I scooped underneath. And then I kind of just shimmy it, just make sure it's fully attached. See how you can see a little bit of a split end at the top? That's completely normal. It's because I'm using a C curl on a really straight lash. Okay, one more replay and then we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, paint. Some of that excess glue now has distributed onto the natural lash. Hold securely in place. Okay, I'm going to scoop underneath. And then I just kind of shimmy and make sure the bond is attached. See that? You can kind of see that it's securely attached to the natural lash. So that's my personal technique that I like to use for classic lashes. I like to apply on top for me to be able to paint the natural lash and scoop from underneath. Now, if your technique is completely different, that's okay. You can apply your lash from underneath on the side if you'd like. I just like to paint the natural lash, lay it on top with a little bit of pressure, and then scoop underneath. That's kind of how I like to do it. I find it really helps with the longevity of the lashes. Okay, adhesion to the natural lash. So this is just making sure that it's secure on the lash, right? So after I place it, hold it still, right? I kind of scoop underneath. See, you can see that it fully is attached. Just making sure that the adhesion and the bond is maximized. Now, the wraparound method. So I actually didn't get a chance to record this on a video clip, but essentially the wraparound method is just the extension kind of wrapping around the natural lash and hugging that natural lash to maximize the bond. Now, if you ever have a client with a really curly, wavy, unruly lash, I like to use the wraparound method for this reason. I actually will apply the extension from underneath and then hug it and then lay it on top. So kind of wraps around the lash, right? So this will increase retention and really help with curly natural lashes, especially curly lashes. If you like to do this for straight lashes, I mean, you absolutely can. For me, I find this really helps me with curly lashes. Okay, now the lash brush through. So this is what I mean by just every 20 minutes or so, I kind of give my lashes a nice brush. I go in with my spoolie wand, right? Making sure that it's fully brushable, meaning it doesn't get caught anywhere, nothing's caught. It's able to roll through the lash set seamlessly and nothing's falling out. Okay, nothing's falling out. And then I just continue my application. Okay, so the fourth pillar is post application. So this is your final steps of your lash application, and this is equally as important as your first few steps as well. So doing a final comb through, this is what I do. I actually go in with my tweezers, kind of separate and comb out the lashes one by one. This will ensure that if there's any loose lashes that you address it right away. Any lashes that are clumped together, we're going to separate those lashes. Even if you've been doing lashes for 10 years, you're bound to get lashes accidentally stuck together. It's completely normal. Main thing is you just want to make sure that you do that final comb through, that any lashes that happen to be stuck as you fill up the lash set, that we separate. And also this helps check for direction. So sometimes your lashes go wonky a little bit. This helps kind of straighten it out with the comb through. A product that I love to use is called Curator. So Sugar Lash Pro carries this. It's called Curator because if you want to think like curing, it is going to help you have a quicker lash bond. So it's going to like force cure everything in place post application. So I'll show you a video clip of this. This is also going to help reduce any irritation. So irritations just naturally happen because of the fumes from the adhesive, right? So this is where sometimes your clients open up their eyes. Maybe they get a little bit, a little bit of redness or a little bit of stinginess, some mild irritations. This can happen, and the Curator is going to help reduce this. And lastly, I like to use our finishing spray. So our finishing spray essentially kind of mimics the Nano Mister. Again, it force cures the adhesive. So instead of using the Nano Mister, you can just spray and mist the natural lashes. You can also use it all over face. It has rose water oil in it. So really helps feel really nice and refreshing and soothes the skin. Smells really good as well. This is going to accelerate curing, reduce irritation, and will help prevent premature lash loss because it's helping hold it and finish it and bond it into place. So these are all steps that I typically do not skip. Okay, this is just a video clip of kind of my final comb through. So once I complete a set 100%, I just kind of dig through with my tweezers. I kind of flipped my curved tweezer upside down. I kind of just go comb each lash one by one. As you can see, any lashes that are kind of sticky, right, I will separate it apart, making sure that everything looks nice and clean. If you notice any lashes that maybe are applied incorrectly, maybe you don't like the way it looks, this is where you can go in and remove it and then reapply, fixing your work if any areas need it. This is our Curator product that I was mentioning to you about. So this is how it looks. It comes in a little dropper bottle. So how you use it, I again, will place a couple drops on my flocked applicators, and I just sandwich the lashes, the bonds of the lashes in between my applicator sticks. So this product, if it touches the skin on the eyelids, is completely safe. But yeah, I just make sure that it's a nice little extra bonder to help with retention. Do you absolutely need this? Not necessarily. However, any product that I can use that will help with retention and its purpose is to help with retention, I will typically use. And our finishing spray. So if you guys aren't familiar with our finishing spray, essentially it just eliminates the nano mister. This will help eliminate adhesive fumes and irritations. It will flash cure and bond the and force the bonds to cure right away. And again, rose water in it, so it smells really nice and refreshing for all over face. If you don't have this, yes, you can still use the nano mister. This one does help force cure the bonds though. Nope. Uh, Lastly, the last and fifth pillar is aftercare. So aftercare is essential for lash longevity. So making sure that your clients are educated with the proper aftercare steps, right? You can do a perfect and beautiful set of application, and then the minute that they walk out your door, if they're not properly taking care of their investments, they're going to have retention issues, right? So you want to make sure that when a client complains that their lashes are, not lasting or falling off, you want to make sure that you ask the questions if they have followed aftercare completely. So, of course, we always recommend keeping them dry for 24 hours. Again, I always say, if possible, technically you don't need to. Nowadays, it cures the adhesive right away. So technically you don't have to wait 24 hours. But again, a fresh set that I got, I will always try to keep them nice and dry, not touch them as much as possible in the first 24 hours. I will avoid any oil-based products just while I have extensions. Oils is the glue's culprits. So anything oily based that touches the adhesive and the bonds of the glue is actually going to make the lashes fall off a lot quicker. So you guys better watch out for your night creams, any serums that you're using in the eye area. Make sure, are they oil free? Even your face cleansers, makeup removers, and your makeups. I know there are oily based makeups out there, like creamy based eyeshadows and eyeliners, things like that. Anything that's oil based that goes near that lash line can affect the retention of your lashes. Say no to mascara. So mascara, I always say it's an absolute no-no. I know they market products that are eyelash extension safe mascaras. I still don't use those mascaras. What mascara does is, that if you coat it a couple times, it typically clumps the lashes together, right? So even though it's eyelash extension safe, I still don't recommend it, because all of your hard work isolating and separating those lashes, if they go home and use, any type of mascara, it's going to clump everything together, and you're going to have to work a little bit harder during the fill, if they are even able to get a fill, right? So I always say no to mascara, and typically mascaras do have oils in it as well. So absolutely no for mascara. Cleanse regularly. Some people think that the less they touch them, the better, right? So sometimes they don't even cleanse at all. So just like the hair on our head, when you don't wash your hair for a long period of time, oil builds up, we sweat, and, bacteria and debris gets on the hair. So that's going to also affect your retention. So I always say, if you're not going to cleanse it every day, even every other day, it's actually will help with the longevity of your lashes if you cleanse more so than if you don't cleanse at all. Now, you want to make sure that you use a lash safe cleanser, right? So making sure that it's oil-free, safe for the lashes, and that you're cleaning them properly. So of course, you're not too aggressive and rubbing your eyelashes, but there's a technique for you to cleanse it as well. So I like to just do a brush down motion with my cleansing brush. And lastly is using the correct aftercare products. So typically, at the end of any beauty service, people always will recommend shampoos and conditioners and products that will help your color last longer, or things that, will help, your nails and skin, things like that. This is really just to help with having that investment that you just made last better. So making sure that your clients are aware about this and taking the precautions and using the products that is going to help their new investment. So we're going to go over this in the next slide here. So this is our aftercare products that I always recommend. So these two products we carry with Sugar Lash Pro. The first one here on the left is our Lash and Brow Growth Serum. So this is one of our newer markets products that we just kind of launched just in the last year and some. But this is a growth serum. So it's going to help grow your lashes longer and stronger. So essentially, if you're using this underneath your eyelash extensions, it's going to help keep that natural lash long and strong. The beauty of this product is you can use it for your brows, you can use it for your lower lashes, and you can use it with or without extensions. So this product is all natural. So it's free of parabens, sulfates, prostaglandins. It has no oils in it. So that's what makes it safe for eyelash extensions to use. So whether you have eyelash extensions or not, this is a product that I recommend to anyone. And the nice thing is it's all natural. So typically anyone that has had any reactions to other serums in the past that has a lot of chemicals and additives in it, this product does not. And the one on the right here is our Gentle Gel Cleanser. So this is great for sensitive skin, safe for lash extensions. So we call this a cleanser, like it's for your lashes. But the nice thing about this is you can actually use it for all over face. So don't think that you have to use it like just for your lashes. If you're looking for kind of like your 2-in-1 cleanser that's good for your lashes and all over face, this is one that I would recommend. So very, very gentle, and there is no scent to it. So you don't get any of those harsh chemical smell. Now, these are some other products I recommend, not with Sugar Lash Pro, but these are the products that have helped my clients, but also for myself as well. So oil-free makeup remover. So make sure that your clients are using an oil-free makeup remover. A lot of the makeup remover, like for example, Neutrogena at the drugstore, it advertises as oil-free, but you can actually see that separation of oil in the bottle. So make sure that you're using a cleanser and a makeup remover that is completely oil-free. I love to use the micellar water, the Bioderma. This is kind of like my go-to. I use this even when I don't have eyelash extensions on. And a lot of my friends that use this, they're surprised that it actually removes waterproof mascara. When I'm not wearing eyelash extensions, I usually wear waterproof mascara. And this actually removes the waterproof mascara. You just have to do really good deep clean. So this is what I recommend. We do have eyelash sleep masks on the market. So essentially, they kind of look like little bras on your eyes. They have little cups, so it's not squishing your eyelashes. So it really helps that if you are kind of like a face sleeper, this can help with that a little bit. But this too, you can also wear it even if you don't have eyelash extensions. And then lastly, our silk pillowcases. I keep saying ours as if it's Sugar Lash Pro, but we don't carry silk pillowcases, but you can find this online. I recommend silk pillowcases over cotton just because it's good for our hair, but also our face and lashes. This will prevent any tugging, pulling of your extensions, but also good for your hair as well. Okay, you guys, so this takes us to our Q&A, which is at the end of the webinar. Does anyone have any questions for me so far? No questions is always a good thing, I guess. I hope that everyone kind of was able to understand the webinar and it was really easy to follow. Awesome, you guys. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to the next slide here. Oh, thank you, ladies. So on our last slide here, if you can please spare 2 minutes of your time and scan this QR code on the left side. This is just for you to share your feedback on the webinar. So just what you thought about the webinar and what you'd like to see on upcoming webinars. So we would like to, take your feedback and your opinions, what you guys want to see, and make sure that we schedule in a webinar of things that might interest you. So please take a couple of minutes, scan that webinar, and share what you'd like to see next. And then on the right-hand side here, we have our upcoming webinars. So we have a big one coming up with Karina, our educator, on September 8th at 11 MST. This is going over everything certification with Sugar Lash Pro. If you guys have taken a Sugar Lash Pro course but is not yet certified, and you guys are like wanting to get certified, she's going to share her journey, her experience, what she personally went through, showcase kind of what gets rejected, what gets approved in the certification process. So really, really good knowledge on this webinar. But we also have other exciting webinars to come. We have one in October with Katie. This is great for any educators that are on here today. So these are some teaching strategies that might help your classrooms, as well as some exciting styling webinars coming up for the holiday season. So we have a feathered mega volume masterclass with Leah and a holiday glam class where Irene will be showcasing the different holiday looks that you could use or get styled for the holiday season. Okay, you guys, so this here is my contact information. Any questions that you have, please reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is here. My email is also there. Just feel free to reach out if you have any questions about products, education, or just if you're having any issues with retention, just feel free to reach out to me. And our website and Sugar Lash Pro Instagram handle is here. Otherwise, thank you so much, you guys, for joining me today. And I hope you are able to take a little something away from the webinar.